Welcome back. This is the verdict, and now we have the reactions, some more reactions. Before we go to President Odinkalu and Mr. Oluwaje in Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari's statement on his reaction to this postponement is now with us, and the APC flag bearer says he is disappointed that in spite of the fact that his government has cooperated fully with INEC by ensuring everything it demanded to conduct free and fair elections were promptly made available to it, the electoral body could still come up with this announcement. The president also says not only have many Nigerians traveled to various locations to exercise their right to vote, international observers are also on ground to witness the polls. According to him, INEC themselves have given assurances day after day and almost hour after hour that they were in complete readiness for the elections. He says his administration has ensured that it does not and did not interfere in any way with the work of INEC except to ensure that all funds were released to the commission. In his words, quote, "We now urge INEC to ensure not only that materials are already distributed, that are in safe hands, but they do not get into wrong ones, and that everything is done to avoid the lapses that resulted in this unfortunate postponement, and ensure a free and fair election on the rescheduled dates," unquote. The president, however, says he remains committed to the independence and neutrality of the electoral umpire and the sanctity of the electoral process and ballot.
All right, we have that reaction, but let's quickly go to our correspondent, Emmanuel Irei. We understand Emmanuel is in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Emmanuel?
Perhaps this is a place to do some form of weather check as the Harmattan wind blows across the almost empty streets of Port Harcourt, Rivers State, as many residents woke up to what has been largely described as a disappointing news of the postponement of the elections, with some not buying at all the reasons given by the electoral body. I spoke with some of them who expressed their frustration and wondered what really went wrong, and this is what some of them had to say.
I'm short of words to be candid, because we were all surprised when we had the news that the election has been postponed. After hearing from INEC that they are fully prepared to go, all of a sudden we now heard that the election has been cancelled and postponed till next week.
For them to cancel the election, this decision make me not to go to my business today. I'm supposed to be at workshop today, but although I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. But let it be. Since they say it will be on Saturday next week, so be it.
The impact on the optimism of the average voter, the resources put in so far into the preparation, the deployment of personnel, even security operatives that have been detailed to some localities in the state, may become even more vivid in the coming days. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Emmanuel, our correspondent there in Rivers State, giving us a feel of how the people feel about this postponement. Now, we had a reaction from the president. Now, let's take a reaction from the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Well, he is not happy with the postponement and has described it as a case of the hand of Esau, but the voice of Jacob. The statement signed by Mr. Atiku says, by instigating this act, the current administration hoped to disenfranchise the Nigerian electorate in order to ensure that the turnout is low on the rescheduled date. According to Mr. Atiku, the Buhari administration has had more than enough time and money to prepare for these elections, and the Nigerian people were poised and ready to perform their civic responsibility by voting in the elections earlier scheduled for today. Now, he appealed to the electorate to come out in even greater numbers on Saturday, February the 23rd, and then Saturday, March the 9th, respectively, to frustrate the plans of those wanting to stop them from exercising their rights. And part of the statement reads, quote, "Maintain the peace and be law-abiding. Do not react to this provocation with anger, violence, or any action that might be exploited by those who do not want this election to hold. Remain calm, and we will overcome this. You can't You can postpone an election, but you cannot postpone destiny. End of quote there from the PDP presidential candidate. Lani?
Well, now we have the two reactions pretty much out there. Of course, we did already have people that make allusions to some of the comments made by both candidates. Professor Odinkalu, I was going to return to you. First, you're not in any political party, so maybe I think it's safe to start by asking you, what do you make of these two reactions?
Let me just confirm, it's accurate. I'm not in any political party. I don't support any political party either. I have one party, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And anything that advances it, I support. I do think that the statement by the president is statesmanlike. You've got to respect the fact that it's fairly straight up, right on the tarmac of about what he could possibly have said. I don't think there's a lot of difference between the two statements. It's easy to be impatient with democracy because it's not unilinear. It doesn't run in a straight line. There'll be missteps, there'll be mistakes. There'll be terrible days, there'll be disappointments. The one thing you can't give up on, however, is hope. And it would be uncharitable not to be disappointed and not to feel bad for hardworking people who've had to give up livelihoods to show their belief in our country. The pride of all people displaying their PVCs who want to vote, take charge and take ownership of the country, waking up this morning to this news. It's heartbreaking. Mothers who've had to lug their kids out of school from one end of the country to the other, ending up, expecting to be back next week and ending up probably not being back until next month. This is painful. And I totally agree with Wale here. INEC has got to share in this pain, show that it understands this pain, and enlist as many Nigerians as possible in making sure that we persuade our people not to be impatient with the democratic process. It is painful, and all of us should show it. All of us should feel it, and all of us should commit to making sure these elections take place and no vote is lost. Yep.
Now, Mr. Oluwade, you were going to have the last word on this segment, and I'll ask you to do that in just a minute. What are your final thoughts as we end this? We've talked a lot, but what are your final thoughts? What would you want those listening and watching you to take away?
Yeah, thank you, Ladi. Taking off from where Prof said, where he landed, Nigerians shouldn't be disappointed. They shouldn't be discouraged. We're all disappointed and angry, but we shouldn't be discouraged. Next week, Saturday, is just 7 days thereabouts. So, get ready. Go out next week, Saturday. Encourage your friends who are undecided, either to those who are sitting on the fence because I spoke to a couple of people or some people who are saying, I'm not sure, I'm not, if I want. Let everybody come out and vote. The best way to make something good out of this is to have a higher voter turnout than previous elections. That's what I'm looking forward to. Nigerians should not be discouraged. We should come out massively next week and exercise our civic duties. It's our right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Wale Oluwade.
That's my last.
It's been our pleasure to have you with us on this segment. Thank you so much for your attendance. I know you're disappointed, so are we. Professor Odinkalu, thank you very much for joining us. Professor Odinkalu, of course, is the Channels Television's election consultant. Thank you so much for being with us on this segment. We look forward to hosting you again soon on another segment. We'll take a break now on this segment, and then we're back on the other side.